So solving system of equations. For numbers 1 and 2, you're going to graph it by taking an XY table. Now, just to save some time, here's number 2, right? It's graphed. This is what you're looking for, where they intersect. That is always the solution to a system of equations, where they intersect. So in this case, my answer is -1, -1. Now, create XY tables or draw it because it's an equation of a line, right? Y-intercepts, rise over run, y-intercept, rise over run. You're going to see where they're going to intersect, but they will intersect there at 1, -1, -1, and so that's your answer. Now, just remember, there's both an x and a y, and so that's why our solutions are going to have both the x and the y. So solving the system of equations, remember we learned 2 different methods. We learned about the substitution method, and then we learned about the elimination method. Usually we want to use the substitution method when it's easy for us to get a variable by itself, or there's a variable already by itself. So like on number 3, there's a variable by itself. So y equals 5x minus 7. So I can plug the 5x minus 7 in for y into the other equation. So you get -3x minus 2 times y distribute the -2, so minus 10x, and then plus 14 equals -12. Now I can start combining things together. So -3x and -10x is -13x. And then subtract the 14, you get equals -26. So therefore x equals 2. Plug it back in. So I found one of the variables. So plugging it back in for x, you get y equals 5 times 2 minus 7. 10 minus 7, that's 3. So my solution is 2, 3. Now remember to write it as a point. Now for number 4, we're going to use the elimination method. The idea is that if you look at the leading, the coefficients of whatever the variables are, if it's very easy to make them opposites, meaning the number's the same, one's positive, one's negative, then we can use the elimination method. So in this instance, because they're already opposites, -6 and +6, I can add my equations together. And the variable eliminates. So this is called Gaussian elimination, and you're allowed to add one equation to another to create a new one. So I added this equation to this one, and I created this new equation right here. 9y equals -9. Divide both sides by 9, you get y equals -1. Now you can take it and you can plug it back in for your y. So -6x plus 5 times y equals 1. -6x minus 5 equals 1. Add 5. Yeah, x equals -1. For number 5, we have x minus 3y equals -6. I can add the 3y, so I get x equals 3y minus 6. Plug that back in for x. So I get -4 times 3y minus 6 plus 9y equals 9. Right, so we can do it this way. This is perfectly acceptable. That's a way to do it. I just kind of showing you guys how you can use the substitution for that. Now for this one, you could also do the elimination method. It's easy for me to make the y's here opposites of each other. All I have to do is multiply this equation by 3. And so now rewriting the equations, now if I add them together to create my new equation, -4 and 3 give me -x. 9 and -18, that's going to give me -9, and so x equals 9. So now I can plug x back, or 9 back in for x. So if I wanted to plug it into that equation, get 9 minus 3y equals -6. So I can minus 9. -3y equals -15. y equals 5. And so we get 9 and 5. For number 6, since it's kind of not very easy to make these opposites of each other, this one's probably a good candidate to get y by itself and then plug it in for y. For number 7, it's really easy to make the y's opposites of each other. Multiply this by 2, and so you're going to get negative 12x minus 14y equals negative 20, and then the 8x plus 14y equals 4. Okay, now they're opposites of each other. And then here the y's are opposites of each other, so we can just add them together. So as a reminder, applying the transformations, we have to think, are we adding the value to the x or manipulating the x, or are we adding a value to the y, or are we manipulating the y? And so in this instance, this says f of x plus 2. This is my vertical shift. So that means I'm essentially adding 2 to my y value. So now this will move up 2 spaces. This will move up 2 spaces. This will move up 2 spaces. And so that would create your new circle, or half circle. Now this means a horizontal shift of 2, or add 2 to the x. And then this one right here, this is a reflection over the x. So that means you basically add a negative to your y value, right? Because it's negative times y. So add a negative to the y value, and then add 1 to it.